Greetings! Another wonderfully successful commercial crew launch by SpaceX from Launch Pad 39A, and we have our own WSN Dragon here today to help us celebrate. 4 crew members, 3 rookies, and 1 multi-flight veteran rocketed toward the International Space Station precisely at noon today aboard the Endurance Crew Dragon capsule. There are a number of notable firsts on this 8th human flight by SpaceX, the 6th NASA flight plus the Inspiration 4 and Axiom 1 missions. SpaceX has now placed 30 people into orbit. Nicole Mann, the first female commander of a commercial crew mission and a Marine Corps pilot, is a member of the Wailaki tribe of the Round Valley Indian tribes. It's also the first flight of a Russian cosmonaut since Nikolai Budarin flew on STS-113 20 years ago. Anna Kikina is the only woman in the active cosmonaut corps. It may also be the first launch of a booster stage for an American human mission that incurred major damage during its transportation. The transport crew failed to lower the rocket to pass under a bridge as it headed to the Texas test facility. While aboard the ISS on their 6-month mission increment, 5 vehicles are expected to dock with the station. Progress MS-21, Cargo Dragon CRS-26, Northrop Grumman's Cygnus NG-18, recently named for astronaut Sally Ride, the Boeing Starliner crew flight test, and their replacements on SpaceX Crew 6.
There on the right-hand side of that hallway there, but what I notice is the astronauts tend to pause right about here because it looks like that is a spectacular view.
It is, Daryl. It is their chance. Of course, you know, you've mentioned the rocket recline where they're able to look up at the rocket. They're kind of co-level with the vehicle at this point. They're able to look out, see the ocean, see the rocket, see the capsule itself.
This is the same launch tower that launched the space shuttle. It's been, of course, renovated by SpaceX. They've made a lot of improvements in order to accommodate the Falcon 9, but it also has some throwback to the shuttle era. And there's part of the fixed service structure that's still a part of that structure today.
That's true, Daryl. The 39 Alpha launch complex was modified to be able to handle the Falcon 9 rocket, and Doug and I were super excited to launch again from the exact same location. There are remnants of the shuttle program that are still kind of out there. There's a series of chevrons. You can kind of see them in the image there. The kind of the yellow pathway, if you will. The crews go in the opposite direction there. Those chevrons point towards the slide wire baskets that they would use if they needed to do an emergency egress off the pad surface. Those slide wire baskets are a legacy item from the shuttle program.
And here we go, the first 2 astronauts to board Crew Dragon. On the left, Josh Cassada, and on the right, Commander Nicole Mann. All smiles as they make their way down the crew access arm.
You can see the fist pumps. They're definitely getting excited now as they get ready to board the ship.
And they make their way into what's called the White Room. Do a photo op there.
Core on countdown. T-minus 2 hours and 47 minutes. Crew have arrived at the White Room just a little bit ahead of schedule.
There's the announcement. And you can see one of the SpaceX techs handed Nicole Mann and Josh a Sharpie, which this is something that's actually on their to-do list for launch operations. And what they're going to do now is sign their signature onto the NASA meatball, or right there around it. That NASA meatball is encircled with signatures from all the previous NASA crews that have gone up to the International Space Station. That signature would include yours, Bob, as well as your wife, Megan MacArthur.
Yes, Joe, that's a nice tradition that the SpaceX team added and allowed kind of Doug and I to get started. And it's pretty neat to get your name added to the wall there, the White Room wall that leads to the Dragon capsules that head to space station.
And there you see her putting her signature making the way around the NASA meatball, handing off the pen to Josh. And to the right, you see the SpaceX logo for their commercial missions. They're also starting a set of signatures, which is a great sign about starting to establish that economy in low Earth orbit, the commercialization of low Earth orbit.
It's exciting to see the economy in low Earth orbit continue to grow, Daryl. It's also exciting to see the cadre of astronauts continue to grow and view that group as our partners of folks who've been to low Earth orbit, who've been into the black of space, and it's just exciting to see that group continue to grow.
As the astronauts prepare to go inside, the first two, the commander and pilot, we've got the mission specialists on the left-hand side of your screen making their way towards the crew access arm. The white room was a term first used during the Gemini era, literally describing the color of the room, which is painted white. You can see an inflatable seal, which is black colored, connected to the spacecraft, and it inflates to create that environmental seal around the side of the spacecraft, connecting it with the white room.
It does, Gerald. That seal, of course, would protect if there was a kind of rain or anything else kind of going on in the area. We don't have that today. We have beautiful weather, but it does ensure that the elements of Florida don't make too far of a way into the capsule itself. So you don't want any mosquitoes or anything headed into orbit with you. And so that seal does its job.
It does indeed. There's a lot of humidity and mosquitoes out here in Florida. Fortunately, today, we've got a nice little breeze that's keeping it off us here at the desk, which is nice, and kept it off the astronauts and crew when they were getting in their vehicles, running about a 10-knot onshore breeze, which should help push the clouds around. We've got a few of them out overhead. Our launch weather officer for today, Brian Sizik, from the 45th Space Wing, telling us that we've got a nice high-pressure system in the area, Bob, that's keeping everything clear as the first astronaut climbs aboard.
Core on countdown at T-minus 2 hours and 44 minutes. Crew have begun ingressing Dragon.
You got to be careful to not bump your head, it looks like.
You absolutely, Daryl, need to be careful as you climb through that hatchway. There's a pressure seal that needs to be kind of maintained in pristine condition, so when the time comes to close the hatch, you'll actually get a good seal with that hatch closure operation. And so the crew is keenly aware that they need to protect that environment, and that they climb into the vehicle very carefully.
Carefully stepping over that seal. That's important, and later we'll see the closeout team closely inspecting that seal just to make sure that there's no debris, no what they call FOD, foreign object debris, which could compromise the seal, something you want to make sure you keep the environment on the inside and space on the outside.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That team, of course, it's a little bit difficult in the suit itself to be able to monitor and make sure that you don't bump anything that you're not supposed to bump into. But that team of SpaceX folks just does a great job with assisting the crew, letting them do as much as they would like to do on their own, but also ensuring that everything's done perfectly so that nothing has to be redone in the time-critical situation for launch.
And here come our second two astronauts, mission specialists Koichi Wakata and Anna Kikina. They're next up in the white room. Big thumbs up from Koichi. He's the veteran of this group, Bob. We got 3 first-time flyers and a guy that has a lot of experience in space.
That's true, Daryl. Koichi was in the astronaut office when I arrived a couple decades ago, just having joined and trained as a shuttle astronaut, getting the opportunity to fly on his 3rd space vehicle kind of going forward here. It's got to be exciting for him to try on a new spaceship.
I'm making his 5th flight into space. Got the green light flashing above, and I'm going to take that as green as go.
Certainly better than a red flashing light.
Yes.
So it does take a relatively large team. It does seem like the crew being able to head out to the launch pad and climb in almost by themselves would be a thing. But in order to make sure that things are all done perfectly, that team of SpaceX folks follows along very carefully with the procedure to make sure everything's done exactly per the checklist.
And our mission specialists will now put their signatures on the white room as the commander and pilot finish up securing their 5-point harness into their seat, getting a snug fit. As you can see there, Josh Cassada making sure everything is lined up correctly. Looks like he's got 4 hands. But those are his gloves. I'm sure an extra set of hands couldn't hurt.
Yeah, no, he just has the 2 hands, just like the rest of us, but he does have the gloves there kind of taken off to kind of give him some additional dexterity as he tries to work through getting all the strap-in process completed. You mentioned the 5-point harness, much like a racing harness that the astronauts strap in with. Likely they won't need all of the capability of that harness as they head into orbit and take their ride, but it does provide some capability should the emergency escape system be activated to really keep them strapped tightly into their seats.
Seats that are also sized to your proportions, right? And the suit is custom, but the seat, I believe, has 3 different sizes. I believe small, medium, and large.
The seat has some different sizes. The armrest have some different lengths, and the footrest have some different lengths. So there are several adjustments that can be made. Not quite completely custom, but it does, I guess, with you look at all the way up to Crew 5, we probably haven't exercised all the options that are out there, but definitely have some flexibility in customizing the seat to make it fit the astronaut.
And interesting note about the spacecraft endurance that SpaceX and NASA recently hitting a really incredible joint milestone. Crew 5 is SpaceX, of course, is 8th crewed mission since May of 2020. But as of this mission, Bob, Dragon is now certified for 5 times reuse. Prior to that, it was 1-time reuse, but they've gone through the process with NASA and accomplished that reuse milestone, which that's impressive. We'll see more flights from Endurance.
That's true, Daryl. It is really critical that these commercial vehicles kind of meet their reuse milestones, so that we can continue servicing the International Space Station by rotating crews. And so it's a huge accomplishment to get that behind folks so that we can continue planning for, the duration of Space Station's lifetime being accessible by the Dragon capsule.
We continue to watch the action live. In the meantime, let's toss it out back to California with Jesse and Sandra.
Thanks, Daryl. This is always an exciting moment watching the crew climb aboard Dragon. This phase of the mission is also referred to as crew ingress, and that term ingress is used when crew members are getting into a spacecraft or airlock, while egress means the exact opposite, they're exiting. So prior to getting on board, the crew completed a foreign object debris check or FOD check, and that means they themselves have to be inspected for any substances or debris that isn't supposed to be on them or their spacesuits, because this could potentially cause damage to Dragon. And that's also why the crew is wearing covers on their boots and on the umbilical port of their spacesuits. Those covers get removed before they enter the spacecraft.
Foreign object debris prevention actually begins right here in Hawthorne before the spacecraft leaves SpaceX headquarters and is carefully controlled all the way through launch day until Dragon's hatch is closed. They're now getting buckled in and attaching their umbilicals to their suits, and you can see the suit techs or closeout techs are present, helping them out as needed. The umbilicals allow the crew to have comms through their suit, air to help keep them cool, as well as delivers nitrox for suit pressurization. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization.
And there are 4 seats configured right now inside of Dragon and are numbered 1 to 4 from right to left when looking at the seats from the hatch. Anna Kikino will be in seat 1 on the very far left, and you see she just climbed in a couple of moments ago. Nicole Mann will be, Josh Cassada will be in seat 2, or the commander's seat, and Josh Cassada will be beside her in the pilot seat. And then on the very end is Koichi Wakata, who is in seat 4, all the way to the right, who just climbed aboard just a moment ago as well. And directly in front of the crew members are 3 displays, which they'll use throughout the flight, getting insight into Dragon's systems, seeing any alerts or issues with the vehicle.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engines full power. And liftoff. Go Crew 5.
Stage 1 Alpha.
Copy 1 Alpha.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Nominal power and telemetry. Stage 1 throttle down.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Execute.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy 1 Bravo. Impact chill has started. Stage 1 throttle down. And Miko.
Stage 2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed. Copy 2 Alpha. Impact ignition. Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Dragon copy.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Dragon copies.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Dragon copies.
Acquisition of signal, AFSCN.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Dragon copies.
Stage 2, FTS is saved.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon. And impact shutdown.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
Dragon copies.
Launch escape system disarmed. Expected loss of signal, Cape.
Acquisition of signal, Newfoundland. Dragon separation confirmed.
And Dragon, this is your launch director.
Dragon copies and...
And Dragon, this is your launch director on Dragon. On behalf of the entire launch and recovery team, it was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this mission with you. And while October 3rd may belong to the Mean Girls, October 5th will forever belong to Crew 5. Godspeed, Endurance. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the Falcon team. Woo! That was a smooth ride uphill. We got 3 rookies that are pretty happy to be floating in space right now, and 1 veteran astronaut who's pretty happy to be back as well. Let's see what you got to say, Koichi.
Falcon team, it was a smooth ride, and I see all the 3 happy faces here back in 0G, and I appreciate all the help to give us the smooth ride and training. And thank you so much. JAXA の支援隊の皆さん、非常にスムーズな打ち上げでした。打ち上げご支援していただいた皆さん、応援に駆けつけてくださった皆さん、ありがとうございました。この調子でチームワークを持って頑張ります。Thank you for your support. Anya.
Thank you, Falcon 9 and our fellow agencies, to Roscosmos, NASA, and JAXA, and SpaceX exactly for giving us that opportunity. We're so glad to do it together. And thank you for everybody, for all people who with us. Спасибо большое всем агентствам Роскосмос, НАСА, JAXA и, естественно, SpaceX за предоставленную нам возможность. Мы рады всем экипажам делать то, что мы сейчас делаем. И большое спасибо всем людям, кто сейчас с нами.
And Dragon Falcon 9C, thanks for the words. Had a great ride. Have a good mission. We'll see you later.
We have been treated to yet another exciting image of the vast plume of dust and debris blasted from the surface of the asteroid Dimorphos by NASA's DART spacecraft. This picture was taken 2 days after the impact by the National Science Foundation's SOAR, S-O-A-R, the Southern Astrophysical Research Telescope, a 4.1-meter optical and near-infrared instrument located on a mountain in Chile. The dust trail can be seen stretching from the center to the right-hand edge of the field of view and is estimated to be over 6,000 miles long. The ejecta has been pushed away by the sun's radiation pressure, not unlike the tail of a comet. These observations will allow scientists to gain knowledge about the nature of the surface of Dimorphos, how much material was ejected by the collision, how fast it was ejected, and the distribution of particle sizes in the expanding dust cloud. For example, whether the impact caused the moonlet to throw off big chunks of material or mostly fine dust. United Launch Alliance scored another successful Atlas V launch Tuesday afternoon. The 531 version of the venerable booster deployed 2 Boeing communications satellites for SES into geostationary transfer orbit about 6 hours after liftoff. Here is video of the launch.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying SES-20 and 21 for SES, the leading provider of global content connectivity solutions.
Program. After 15 seconds into flight, the U has gone to closed loop control. Coming up on 30 seconds into flight, RD-180 is throttled back as expected. Engine response looks good.
You're hearing the voice of Jesse Gonzalez providing launch vehicle ascent data.
And 40 seconds into flight, Atlas V is now supersonic. And the vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. And the RD-180 is now throttling back up as expected. Engine response continues to look good. Passing a minute into flight, continuing to see good SRB chamber pressures. RD-180 pump speed and fuel injector pressures are responding well to demands on the engine. Vehicle is continuing right down the middle of the range track. And we have good burnout on all 3 SRBs. Standing by for SRB jettison in about 20 seconds. And we have good jettison of all 3 SRBs. And the vehicle has gone to closed loop guidance. And the RD-180 is throttled down as expected. Engine response continues to look good. About 2 minutes remaining in the boost phase of flight. The vehicle is now 45 miles in altitude, 70 miles downrange, traveling at 5,500 miles per hour.
And that's the way space is today. Until tomorrow, add in Explorata toward the unknown in the measureless arena of space. Stay tough and competent, and thanks for watching.